on. You know how much I adore you. And I think I told you the second time I met you that we were going to be besties, whether you like it or not. And if not, I would stalk you till you were my friend.
I still remember that.
Yeah, I think that's
And I
what.
still became your friend, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go, winning. So I'm just going to do a quick intro about you because you are amazing and the world needs to know about you. Michael, I know you are. Michael was born with a condition called multiple congenital musculoskeletal abnormalities. Wow, can you pronounce that properly for me?
Multiple congenital musculoskeletal abnormalities.
Yeah. You know, I practiced that like 10 times already, and I failed, of course, when we go live. In addition to wearing an artificial leg, he walks with a cane and uses a wheelchair for long distances. Contrary to what many would believe possible, he became a chartered accountant and also obtained an MBA from Edinburgh Business School. He has built and sold successful accounting and financial planning practices. Today, in addition to continuing a successful career in finance and accounting as a CFO and co-founder for Breakaway Experiences, a gift experience company. Guess you're not selling a lot of that right now.
Not so much, no.
He uses speaking, comedy, and writing to not only educate people as to what people with disabilities can do, but to inspire them to overcome their challenges and live with their life to the fullest of their abilities. What an amazing bio. I wish I could say I wrote it, but that's all you. That's incredible.
There you go.
So, how's the experience getaway business going?
So, the thing is, right, because we're gift experiences, so it's as gifts, so we still have some people getting gifts because the reality is, so when they buy, they can use it over 12 months. And so in theory, people can still buy and then use it in the future.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
When that would be, I should add the 12 months. People can revalidate if they don't use it. Mm-hmm. Usually, they would just pay any change in price, but we are going to take into account the fact that obviously people who had experiences that they got as a Christmas gift that they were eagerly waiting for the warm weather to use. That warm weather is going to be slightly delayed.
Yeah.
Well, the warm weather won't be delayed.
Hopefully it'll continue on and we'll have a late summer.
Is that, well, see, I think it's only fair that for every month of summer we miss, winter gets shortened next year.
I completely agree with that. So if you've got a way to get in touch with the beyond, the worldly beings, that'd be great if you can put that in.
I've been asking that winter gets shortened every year. They're not listening so far, but I figure if you're persistent enough,
maybe I should get on them.
In the face of challenges, if you're persistent, you will overcome. There you go. Spoiler alert. That was my tip for the end.
Oh, beautiful. There you go. Well, I'm glad to hear. It's good to hear that things are still up and going with that business, and that you and the rest of your teammates for it are finding ways around to make sure that it's staying lively.
We're working on it, right? I mean, obviously, people are not necessarily thinking about, hey, let's buy an experience right now. I think people are more focused on making sure they get their food.
True.
But planning in advance, right?
Yeah, and it's also a nice fantasy. Like while you're looking at your, I tease that Casey and I looked at our west wall today, and for something different, we decided to look at our north wall. So instead of, visualizing what's on the wall, it'd be nice to have that fantasy travel experience, and it's right at your fingertips and a few clicks of the buttons, and you'll be able to actually go for it once all this shenanigans is over.
Exactly. Yeah. I keep on coming back to, before all this started, I saw a meme on Facebook that said this too will pass. It may pass like a kidney stone, but it will pass. So I keep on thinking we just have a really big ass kidney stone right now.
Oh man. I've only had guys, and those are a pain, so I would not want to experience a kidney stone.
There you go. So yeah.
It's probably too much health information for you, but you're welcome.
I'm glad we could leave you with that visual.
Yeah, Whoa.
Mm.
So unlikely what you had submitted for, the obvious is that we would think that you'd be talking about the physical disabilities, but you actually submitted something different, and that you wanted to talk a little bit more about your life experiences and with your dad. So I'm just going to let you. I'm just ask you the question of like, what challenges did you want to talk about today? And then after you discuss that, we'll follow up with how you are overcoming, and the rest. So,
Okay, cool.
challenges.
Okay, there you go. So obviously the last name Lifshitz was the first challenge. But so because I always tell people that if people look at me, they automatically assume that my challenge is going to be my disability because it must be terrible having a disability. So the reality of the matter is that the so I like to tell people, like in my case, it's a physical disability. So that all long multiple congenital musculoskeletal abnormalities. I just like showing off that I can say it so well. But it after 40, almost 45 years, you get used to saying it.
Yeah.
Because every time I played golf, someone would ask me, "What's your handicap?" And I'm like, "Multiple congenital." No, sorry, that joke was more for me. And Laurie
No,
apparently, so
funny for me.
that's why we're friends. We like corny jokes.
Bad
But,
puns.
but so yeah, the basically all it meant was I have an artificial leg, walk with a cane. I just realized this was in my bio, so we probably already covered all this. So, but like my big thing is always a physical disability. I got my wheelchair. I can get most places. So it's not so much the disability. I think the two challenges are people's attitudes, first of all, which is why I like doing the talking about disability to kind of educate people and hopefully make people realize, as someone with a disability, I'm not that different than anyone else. Um, I like the expression, I put my pants on one leg at a time. The only difference is I also put on the leg at the same time. So
You
that's
just
just different.
multitask better. You definitely multitask
Exactly.
better.
Leg and pants at the same time. Um,
Woo!
but but yeah, so there's the people's attitudes. But the other thing, and I mentioned this because everyone assumes biggest challenge must have been dealing with the disability. So the big challenge that I like to talk about. So my dad passed away when I was 15, and it was actually very sudden. So literally, I left for school in the morning, said bye, assuming like just as a regular, I'm off to school. And that was so people say, did you get a chance to say bye to your dad? In theory, that was the last thing I said to him. I didn't quite realize how final that bye was. So yeah, I literally came home, found out he had passed away that morning.
Wow.
Uh, so it turned out it was a strain of he had been diagnosed with a slight touch of pneumonia the day before, and it turned out the pneumonia was a strain where it destroys your lungs. It attacks. I think kind of like the analogy. I think it was similar to the when Lucien Bouchard had the former premier of Quebec. He lost his leg to a flesh-eating bacteria. So I think it was like that, but it attacked the lungs instead of the leg, which obviously is a lot more difficult
Yeah.
to treat. Um, so um, so yeah, that I think was my biggest challenge, and I try to point out to people, and I think that's a big thing. Um, and actually, free plug for Toastmasters. This was actually my talk I did for Toastmasters a couple of weeks ago, and doing this Thursday if anyone wants to join it, our
Absolutely.
meeting, because it will be virtual. But I just told you about it, so I probably spoiled the speech, so you probably don't want to come. But you
Or
still can come.
or you've enticed them.
There you go. I enticed you, so you should come to Toastmasters. But anyway, side point. Um, the talk was basically I believe it's a matter your what you've experienced so far in your life probably will influence how you react to a challenge because there are people who think that the restaurant was out of the soup they wanted is a big challenge. Whereas other people may have a different perspective. And so for me, the big thing was my dad passing away. And I think it made me appreciate how precious life is. So to
Yeah.
me, if nobody's dying, not a big it's a livable challenge. Like I
Hmm.
look at the current situation now, and to me, it's if we all can get out of this alive and still standing at the other end of this, then that's we beat the challenge, right?
Hmm.
Now, and I realize when I say we all, I realize not all will get out of it, unfortunately. But yeah, it's if you and your loved ones can walk out of this pandemic alive, then that goes to show some perseverance, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
you're really like you're very driven in your hope and your ability to see the larger aspect of things and able to like move past because of such a great such a traumatic experience at an early age. You rely on knowing that the worst income there's always a positive outcome after the storm has passed.
right, exactly. And I think it's so like what I said about the perspective. But so because of the disability, I had 8 operations as a kid, and my ninth one was when I was 13. And the one at 13 was kind of the biggest because it was actually to correct scoliosis. So I have like a curvature of the spine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so they and like the obviously I like to joke I wasn't a great athlete, but the little bit of walking I could do, I kind of became appreciative of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember waking up in the operating room after the surgery, and I could feel pain, which was actually very exciting because I'm like, okay, I can feel this is good. Because obviously, when people go in and start moving your spine around, there's a chance of paralysis.
Yeah.
But so I remember the nurse came over. She's like, everything's fine. Surgery went great. You're fine. Your family's upstairs waiting for you. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. Can I have the drugs now? Because I did some with clear morphine, legitimate pain killing by a nurse. I was 13, so I wasn't into the heavier stuff. Not
Not
that I
yet.
am now, just so we're clear. But yeah, so and I remember when I found out about the back surgery, I was worried. I remember my dad saying, "Well, we got through other stuff. We're going to get through this together." And then fast forward 3 years later, when my dad passed away, I remember being pretty angry at the fact my dad wasn't there to help me get through that, which
Mm-hmm.
obviously makes no sense because obviously if he was there, we're not getting through him dying. But when you're emotional, you're not the most logical, right? Logic kind of takes a little holiday.
Zero
Uh,
idea what you're talking about. Totally agree with that statement.
yeah, uh, when emotions get into it, it's a little harder to be logical. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that I think would be the biggest challenge. So like I said, it all comes down to a matter of perspective, and I think if there's a positive of this whole pandemic, is that it might make us a little more appreciative of what we have,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll stop sweating some of the small stuff because we realize what really matters. Like when I mean, I think it's fair to say a lot of people's worlds were turned upside down when this came pretty. I mean, this as we keep on hearing politicians say, it's a fluid situation. So it's kind of what was coming up next. There's a great picture on Facebook that said uh, breaking news, and then translation was what the fuck is happening? What the fuck now? Um, and I think we're all kind of feeling that every time there's breaking news, we're like, oh, geez, how much more? Um, although I
Here's the
feel
ball
like
and chain. Attach it to your kitchen sink because
there
that's
you
as far
go.
as you're going now. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so
Some
that
people actually need that, but
I'm amazed at when I hear about people that are still going, and I totally get, like, I go grab groceries or run in to pick something up
yeah.
or the errands you got to do. But I mean, people standing talking, I'm like, what part of, and I get the fact that it's hard and we want to go out and, but I don't know how anybody is thinking like this attitude of, well, I'm not going to let it interrupt my life.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the reality is everyone's life is going to be interrupted for X
Hmm.
amount of time. And the more people who take that mentality of, I'm not letting it interrupt my life, it's just going to make it that much longer before
Hmm.
we can get things under control, right?
I agree. And if it doesn't interrupt their life now, when the economy's built, the economy, the economy builds back, it's going to affect their life at that point too, because it's going to be a dive before we work back up. So it might not affect
Yeah,
them now, but I guarantee in about 3 to 4 months, it's definitely going to hit back home literally for them. So
yeah.
yeah,
It so there you go. Stay home is the
yeah,
net. Stay home and watch Real Life with Lori.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Obviously, I
And
mean,
come to
watch it over and over.
Toastmasters.
This is like the best show there is on Facebook now. Yeah, definitely. What I'll do is I'll post down the link to the Toastmasters on the comments below.
There you
A
go.
link to the Toastmasters for sure. That's awesome. So you already gave us what you've done basically to overcome. Do you want to add anything in addition to that, or?
So I think the big thing. So I remember the week. So in Judaism, we have after a funeral, we have a week of mourning called Shiva. So basically, we said people can come pay their respects. They bring food. Pretty much every Jewish function, there's food involved. Like every Jewish holiday can be summarized in 9 words. They tried to kill us. They did it. Let's eat. That's pretty much all Jewish holidays.
Love
Pretty
you.
much. By the way, just for viewers listening, I am Jewish, so I'm allowed to say that. Um, I, I, I,
Even
I don't
there,
want that as
like too.
anti-Semitic. No,
By the
no,
way,
I'm talking lived experience, people.
should have had that
Um,
as a crawler.
I
It's okay.
remember there
You're
was
Jewish.
one Yom Kippur, so our Day of Atonement, where it's kind of like our confession, but we're efficient. Instead of doing it every week, we just save up all our sins and confess on one day. Um, Efficiency.
There you
But
go.
um, yeah, I'm probably going to hell, but that's okay. Um, but how many religions can you insult in one podcast? There's the question. But so yeah, I was at the mall in my area in Montreal on the day of. So all Jewish holidays start at night at
Mhm.
sundown. So I'm at, and I'm like, how is there a lineup outside of Maxi's, which was a bakery in Montreal that did food? I'm like, only Jews could stock up on food for a holiday where you fast. Like I don't understand how that works. But anyway, so the
Tell it.
week the week of, we like our food. What can I say?
I'm.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah,
But
right.
anyway, so yeah, the week of Shiva, I remember the social worker in my school came to um, to pay her respects, and she said that she was there like to talk to me when I get back to school. And I'm like, oh no, it's okay. I'm fine. Because so I know this is shocking for people who know I'm a speaker now, but when I was a kid, I was actually the quiet one. So I like to joke I'm making up for lost time. Um, and I remember thinking like, oh, I don't need to talk. And then so the first day back at school, I went and I found something to talk about because I ended up going seeing her regularly for the rest of the school year,
Oh
uh,
wow.
once a week just to talk. And I think the big thing I would say when someone has a traumatic experience or when they're feeling something, it's okay to go for help. Because I
Hmm.
know people say, "Oh, Michael, you're," because I joke around a lot. I'm a comic. I'm funny. You and people think I have everything together. Did
Hmm.
you say I'm not funny?
No, I said and modest.
I'm not it. No, people tell me that. That's what people tell me. I'm not saying I'm funny. But if you'd like to find out, we're doing a comedy show tomorrow night. So, and we'll put that link in the comments as
Yes,
well. Yeah, I'm
100%.
planning a whole week for you people. See, a whole week
All
of
the
online
entertainment.
shows.
All the entertainment.
We got you covered. Um, but um, but yeah, it's so I think it's people are like, oh, you have it all together. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm just a really good actor. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with admitting you need help or uh, going to talk to someone. I've had I've done counseling 2 or 3 times in my life for different stuff.
Mhm.
The first being when my dad passed away. And honestly, I don't know that I would have gotten through dealing with my dad passing without supportive friends. As I had supportive friends, and not necessarily just to talk to, but just to do stuff, right? So like I friends, if the family was going out somewhere, they would take me with, or so I think that's important for people to know. If somebody is going through a tough time, it's not, and even if they don't want to talk, it's just a matter of being there, be
Really.
supportive of, and maybe even just doing something fun with them. I mean, I've actually taken to playing online games with friends. So like we were supposed to do a game night a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we couldn't do it. So we actually met on Zoom so we could see each other, and then played Cards Against Humanity
That's
on
amazing.
online. So we're actually playing and talking and seeing each other,
Yep.
even if we can't physically get together. And we all have drinks, so it's like we're just drinking together.
Your
Uh,
magical wobbly pop in the virtual world.
Wobbly pop, or not, whatever suits your floats your boat. Um, but let's remember, LCBO is considered an essential service. So I guess that says that we like our uh,
Exactly.
wobbly pop. So yeah, I think the big thing to me with overcoming challenges. So 3 things. One, realizing it's okay to take help. So I got my wheelchair in 2000. I started getting my wheelchair in 2003. I got the wheelchair in 2004 because yay government bureaucracy. Um, but it took 6 months to get the wheelchair, and then another 6 months to get the van to be able to transport the wheelchair. Um, but yay government bureaucracy. But I think realizing that it's okay to accept help, and also I think gratitude. So
Mm.
something I always do. Let's say I'm having a bad day, because we all have bad days where things don't go as we thought. Um, so I always try to remind myself, if I've had a bad day, I'll come home and veg out with some TV, watch some Netflix or whatever, just decompress and go to sleep. And then it kind of reminds me the fact that if I got a TV, I've got a warm bed to sleep in. That probably puts me ahead of a lot of people worldwide. So
Yeah,
I think gratitude and perspective kind of goes hand in hand, like keeping
that's
your
great. That's
challenges in perspective.
yeah. I love how you put that. They do go because they 100% perspective and gratitude go. I don't believe that you have a completely healthy outlook and perspective unless gratitude is filtered into it for sure.
Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah, because if you can, my that was one of my big things is our landlord checked in on us to see how we were doing. I'm like, I'm able to pay bills. There's a roof over our head. There's food on the table. We're blessed. Well,
Yeah.
the Casey and I are figuring out a new norm for the two of us because we used to. Her father and I used to share custody, and she used to be half the time here and then half the time with her father. And because of everything, because of her father working overnights, she's a little bit more here for the time being. And so her and I are in each other's faces a lot more, and that's been a little bit of a challenge. But in the end, I'm getting so much more time with Casey that like by the time she's done this, she'll be sick of me, and I'll be like, I got all the cuddles. So from a mom perspective, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
then I'm very grateful for the fact that, like, I miss her half the time, and now I have her so much I can't miss her, and that is going to change when all this is over. So I'm definitely taking advantage of it. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's and I think that's another way of looking at it. At least you're getting to spend a lot of time with your loved ones. Like I know I've heard, so I live by myself, and I know other people who have lived by themselves are saying like it's that much more challenging the quarantine
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have the other people to
That's fair.
interact with.
Yeah.
But so more of the story is I think dating is going to get a lot easier after this quarantine because people will be like, okay, before the next pandemic, I got to get a lived-in partner. Okay, that works.
Have a life
Um,
checklist.
so yeah, there you go. That's going to be my new dating profile. Do you really want to be quarantined alone again? Come on. Um,
Quarantine
um,
with me, baby.
it yeah, I'm surprised more people haven't thought of doing that. I feel like that's a solid plan. Uh, I did see um, what was it? Single male with Purell and Lysol wipes, seeking single female with toilet paper for clean fun. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, interesting, interesting.
one of my
It's
one of
new
my friends.
dating.
Yeah, one of my friends. He was on Tinder, and it just popped up. I don't know if it was him, but it was him or somebody else that he knew was sharing that they were on Tinder, and somebody had made a profile with the name toilet paper. I'm like,
I like
most
it.
wanted item. I'm like, that's brilliant.
I
That is
like it.
brilliant.
I like it. I like
Yeah,
it. Interesting.
yeah,
Although I feel like Tinder hookups are probably a lot more difficult nowadays. I haven't
yeah.
tried, but I feel like how does that work? You're like
Well,
six
there's
feet
definitely no
apart.
feeling because you can't exactly
Yeah,
get in
yeah.
there.
And I'm trying to think 6 feet apart. Uh, that's a whole different kind of Zoom meeting.
It's just like going back to like your elementary school dances. Leave room, right?
I
You have to
like
leave that
I
whole
like it.
ruler. It's a larger ruler this time.
People are dancing like this. It's the zombie
Exactly.
shuffle. I like it.
Yeah.
Um, I elementary school dancing for social distancing. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I
It's
like it.
relatable. The odd things that go on my mind. Oh my gosh, you're adorable. So Michael, what is one thing that you do that you practice daily to make sure that you live a healthy lifestyle?
Alcohol? No, I'm sorry. Um, no, I'm kidding.
Half a bottle of wine. Sorry, that was my
I
routine.
isn't a bottle of wine good for the heart? I thought.
I think it's
Um,
actually a half a cup of wine, but I mean,
oh,
maybe
okay.
half a bottle throughout the week. That's what it's supposed
Oh,
to be.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Um, I also believe chocolate covered strawberries are a fruit. So there you go. It's all relative.
I support that.
I would like it duly noted that I'm a speaker and comic, not a nutritionist. So you probably should not be taking that advice.
Excuse me, even though that they are covered in sugar and processed, it also underneath the sugar and processing of the chocolate, there is nutrients in the strawberries. So I would call that a 50% win.
And I think if it's dark chocolate, it's good for the heart. So I think
Yeah,
we can push it
exactly.
up to 75%.
Then it just depends on how
Um,
much you have.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about the quantity.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think so. I try to get, I try to listen to my body.
Mhm.
In that if, especially, I think especially entrepreneurs, we're like, okay, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. And we're pushing and pushing. I think there's also the reality of listening. If you're tired, you're not going to be productive. Try to get enough sleep. That's
Mhm.
one thing I do. Um, and if you're stressing out, so I do have some stress and anxiety.
Mhm.
Uh, so I actually have a theory about mental health that it's not a yes or no. It's a sliding scale, and on different
Yeah.
days, we're at different places on the scale, and
Yeah.
some people can manage. a little better than others, and some people may need a little bit more help than others, and that may change over time. So, so to manage the stress and anxiety, I try to, if I'm like, sometimes I'll get the spinning feeling that I'm just going in circles. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a breather, go lie down a bit, try to shut my brain off, and then come back fresh. Because otherwise, the spinning just becomes
Yeah.
more and more, and I get myself all worked up. So I think really listening to what your body needs is important. Now, if your body always needs sleep, then that might be a bigger issue. But
Yeah, might want to get that checked out physically.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think listening to your body would be my biggest tip.
That is a huge thing, and I'm still learning that. You know, I've been in the health field for a while as like a coordinator, like doing a little bit of personal training, and you know, I used to be a huge into like, you know, weightlifting and stuff, and I'm still learning to listen to my body for things like you said, for as an entrepreneur, you know, there is that sense of urge, that push that you have constantly to make, you know, complete a project, get on to the next thing and stuff, and you have that. It's great because it's one of the greatest strengths you could have, is to have that motivation and push. It also lends itself to being, you know, that push can push you too hard to the point where you end up on a Friday morning with a huge panic attack over a simple document, which, you know, normally takes you 20 minutes to do. So yeah, exactly. It's a double-edged sword that, like, if you're listening to your body before it happens, where you get to the point where you spin out, you're able to take that step back, recognize it, go for a walk, do whatever you need to do for self-care, and then come back and you're like, oh, right, that was nothing. That was just an email I need to send off. We're good. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Totally awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. I mean, I didn't even have to prompt you for like plugging Breakaway or the comedy show, or, you know, your extra plug for Toastmasters, which is always welcome, because, you know, that got me started. I had to take a little bit of a leave because of it being where the time that it's at kind of conflicts with mine and Casey's schedule. But yeah, it's just collab space Toastmasters is definitely one of the it's a special environment with some special people.
Yeah,
awesome people. Like, special.
Yeah, I have to say we're a good group, and I think it.
Yeah.
Like, I know, especially working. So I always worked from home, but like being more isolated now, like that's one of the highlights of the week is the meeting, because I'm interacting with other people, and as opposed to just at my computer screen.
I want to take that descriptive word and I'm going to raise it a point. I'm going to say not just special, I'm going to say magical people, because
I like it.
Anytime that I attended, it was always a fun experience. Even if there's been days where I've had to come in and I've had like one or two pretty bad panic attacks right before I came in, and I make sure that I'm in a stable place before I go out. But it's usually by the end of Toastmasters, my headspace is definitely in a much healthier space, just because of the fun that we had, for sure. So thank you for dropping that down. Where's my camera? Dropping that down. That's awesome.
I like it.
And we'll get those links into the comments below. And thank you again. I really appreciate your company.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And you and I need to do virtual coffee soon. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now I'm making you commit because it's virtually. You agreed to it.
Anytime. Coffee, I'm there. Virtual, as long as the coffee's not virtual. Well, I guess, no,
that's gotta be real. That's gotta be real.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Awesome.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day today. Bye.
You too. Bye.